Hello, mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
And with that, hello and welcome to the First Circuit Podcast, episode number 87. Your hosts today include Bida,
Clark,
Lars,
Heyo.
and Oldbob,
I gotta come up with the same.
and me, IanDresarie. Hello and welcome. Our topics today include some more events and sales going on, a certain hotfix that was quite interesting last week, a certain Q&A stream that got delayed for a weird reason, and of course our thoughts on the patch with the Rifleman IIC and the MW5 Mechs. Excellent. Apparently the patch notes are really exciting and everyone has an educated opinion about it.
Uh,
well, the first big thing would be the faction warfare changes, I think.
yeah. I mean the faction no play changes?
Very much so. At least, I was skeptical about these changes for all the PTSs and the patch notes, and at least I seem vindicated in the community response.
I was positive for a long time until I actually started getting more and more of an aspect of what the changes were, and then once he got the changes, I'm like, okay, looks like I'm gonna just play quick play now. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you and I always just play quick play and whatnot, but
well, I used to play faction warfare like crazy. Yeah, I used to do a lot, but then I stopped once they actually made it so your clan and your intersphere and that's it. You can't fight. Intersphere can't fight intersphere. So I stopped playing, and okay, we'll go over it here.
Yeah, I see from the patch notes, it seems like it's even more of that. But anyway, yeah, let's actually get into the patch notes of the faction play.
Very much so. At least the big issues are, like, one, for example, I brought up was, of course, that you can't switch during an event. So if one side has a lot of people queuing and the others doesn't, you can't just auto balance that out. You're just sort of stuck and you can't switch during the event. The having particular story missions where you have to join one faction or the other and because when they implemented this patch as well, everyone, like all the loyalists, for example, if you're a hardcore loyalist, you've always been, with Davion, for example, and the event isn't Davion, you cannot sign up with them. So you're suddenly, a lot of loyalists can't serve for their own faction. And if you ever want to earn loyalty points for one faction, because there's that whole long grind, you can't do it. The event system as well, the storylines force you to play, like a day of scouting to start with, and then a day of skirmish, a day of conquest. And if you don't like scouting, if you don't like skirmish, you're boned.
Yeah. As far as the loyalist thing, I think you can't even sign up as Davion, so your little thing can't be Davion. It has to be like, right now it's Clan Wolf versus, FFR. Yeah. FRR, so you're only gonna be FRR, and that's it. You can't be like anything else. I tried to sign up for Lao. It's like, well, no, you can't. You can only be this person. I was like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be Lao, and so that's it. You're stuck. You're stuck doing these events, and that's it. So if you're at FRR or Clan Wolf, I think it is, you're having a grand old time. But if not, you're not being represented.
Yeah, it really forces you to play. I had my mic muted. It really forces you to play in a certain way, and it is really restrictive. And at least I think for what I've seen online, a lot of the comment sections, like for particularly the patch notes, there was like 80 comments by the time the patch actually came out. But then after a day or two of people checking out faction play, it doubled to like 170 or so, and all of those comments are people just ragging on PGI for all of the decisions they've done in faction play. As I've been saying for months now, all of these decisions really don't actually really help faction play. All they needed to do was increase payout, which they did for all modes, which is great. But it's overshadowed greatly by the attempts to improve, quote unquote, improve faction play.
Yeah, I think though that the story is fine. I like how they incorporate some type of story because I'm a lore freakazoid. That's kind of cool. I like that idea. But to be restricted, just like what Biter said, restricted to certain play modes, restricted to certain days, restricted to certain times, and from what I understand, the freelancer only gains XP bonus from what it says. The mercenary only gains a C-bill bonus, and the loyalists gain a loyalty bonus. Now, as far as now, let's say you're playing Loyalist and you do become FRR. You're like, hey, or like Skeleton League. You go, hey, cool, I'm gaining some points for this. But then when it changes to, say, Davion versus, or actually Steiner versus Clan Wolf for some battle or something like that, you're only gaining, you lose all the FRR loyalty points, but then, and now you start gaining, I don't know if this actually is part of it, but you start gaining, say, Steiner points, right?
Only if you actually switch your loyalty to Steiner. If you just switch to Mercenary Freelancer, which is, according to BGI, what you're supposed to do during conflict with different factions, you're not gaining any loyalty points at all. Which, granted, is kind of a waste of time.
Yeah.
Since loyalty points do give you some pretty decent rewards.
Yeah. See, with that, there's no ownership into who you are. Like I remember when I used to play faction play, it was like Lau versus Davion, and there was a rivalry between these groups, and everyone's pumped up to go play against Lau, or we're gonna attack Lau this night and go take over so many planets and do that kind of stuff. Now it's just I'm clan, I'm Intersphere, and that's it, end of story. Or I'm being part of the Bedcomes of War, being part of THICC, and that's and that's it. So no other types of groups can be represented. You're just okay, I'm just these guys, that's it, I don't care. There's no ownership inside what you are. And if you haven't noticed, all your little tags on the left hand side when you do actually do quick play, they all got reset, and so you have to be FRR, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And besides the what you just mentioned, you also noticed something interesting. You got excited about Liao taking planets.
No, I was Davion at the time.
Relatively speaking, if you pay close attention to the patch notes, they say something about predetermined map states.
Yeah.
Or the conflicts, where the conflicts can start in. So there are 4 states of the map conflicts can take place in, meaning that even the outcome to conflict is completely irrelevant. It's still the same old issue that Faction Play Microbus had to fight with for so long. Whatever you do, it doesn't matter. The game's gonna get reset immediately after. And that just
good point.
Kind of ticks me off.
It's been a while since the map has really been controlled by the players, where you could really redraw on all the boundaries, and it would be nice if that could be the case, but it's replacing one you can't really affect the map status quo with another you can't really affect the map status quo.
Yeah. What do you think, Lurch?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I've just been tuning in to you guys talk about it. I think you guys kind of went over all of it, but yeah, I'm probably not gonna be playing a whole lot of faction warfare for keeps like this, because I wasn't even aware that they do the map reset, which defeats the whole purpose of, I thought, a player-based environment for this kind of gameplay.
Yeah,
it kind of sucks.
I think there's a wide variety of people who play faction play, but for the most part, it's because you like dropping with 4 drops and doing siege mode and invasion modes and all that. That is usually, at least if you've been playing faction warfare all this time, they are usually doing it for the big drops. And that was why, particularly on launch day, there was a big reaction, because for the first day you're wanting to try out the new faction play stuff, and there's only scouting. The people who play faction play are not in it for scouting. Scouting is not very popular at all. When there's a faction play event, I love playing scouting. I think a lot of people like playing scouting, but that is also being deprived from us with this new event system, because scouting will only be in the future forced to be played only for a couple of hours, and then we'll go back to the usual 12v12 4 drops modes.
Even worse, the next event is not going to feature scouting at all, which Paul already confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, because they effed up this whole situation with faction warfare, at least in my opinion, it was dying, and then they decided to go stick a dagger in it even more and slash the throat of it pretty much. They should now basically. I had high hopes for this. I really had high hopes. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna change it. They're gonna do something cool. and they didn't. And so what they should do now, because it's such a cluster, they should just gut it and take out the maps, take out like all the stuff, and just make this mode is all these maps with a 4-drop deck, and that's it. They should just do that, because it makes no sense to have a map now. Makes no sense to do that kind of stuff. They could put some little story in there saying, hey, we're on this planet to go save civilians or whatever. They could do that still, but they should just gut the whole map system, gut the whole thing, and just do 4-man drop things in this, and that's it.
I think one of our biggest complaints was that, the whole idea of doing this was you wanted to fight for a planet, and now it seems like there's really no reason to even fight for a planet anymore.
That was not been a thing for a while, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was like our main argument, though, is that we wanted to be able to fight for a planet for like a reason or sake. And
there's
Yeah.
been people do like that overall map metagame thing, but just there isn't a large enough player base to really make that whole meta game work. Like when you had a large enough player base, you could have all the Inner Sphere factions fighting amongst themselves, all the clans amongst against the Inner Sphere and whatnot, and there's all the boundaries moving all over the place. But just there is not enough player base, which is why they put it down to just clan versus Inner Sphere, which really helped with queue times and making the game a lot simpler. But it also meant either
meant
clan
nothing.
is dominating in a sphere and they just take over the whole map and you have to reset it constantly, or in a sphere is doing the opposite if ever that happened.
I don't think it ever happened.
They would take the whole map.
Never happened.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, all it meant was the map turned into 2 colors, and either one color would sweep up all the rest, so you had to just reset it all the time. But yeah, as I've been arguing at least for quite some time, faction play has always just been a different sort of it's quick play sort of, but you have 4 drops, and there's also the siege game mode, and there's also scouting, which is its own special little 4v4 game mode. And it was nice and simple. You just click the button, you join one side, you click a button, and in you go into the 4v4 or the 12v12 with drops. These changes, as I've been arguing for a while, are not going to improve the game mode. They're going to make it a lot more awkward just to do what you want to do. And they should have implemented it. And as Oldbob says, I agree somewhat, they should just press the undo key. But if you at least are on PGI, there's a huge amount of inertia, in implementing this. And just clicking the undo key feels awful.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is probably the best course of action in some ways, but if you have to stick with this system, how can you improve it? Well, one thing is obviously allowing people to switch so that you can auto balance for each faction. If you really have to insist PGI on not forcing people to stay on one faction, if someone's in a queue for too long and there's like 24 on clan and 2 in a sphere, have 12v12 clan.
That'll be
I know
fine.
it's not appropriate to the law, but at least they're getting a game. That's, at least in my mind, the thing you should emphasize is there's a small player base. You want to just click the button and actually play. And all these pretensions to stories, to making sure people can't just swap side to side. That's nice and all, but I just want to play a game, thankfully.
You know what? But I actually think I have a really good idea that would fit with lore. Say you've got 24 clanners and 2 Inner Sphere people fighting over a planet, and then the matchmaker goes, we're now gonna make a 12v12 match, clan versus clan. You could even have a script that writes you a tiny little story about how Clan Jade Falcon, how Clan Wolf both arrived at the same time. They found the planet nearly undefended, so now they're fighting over it with each other. That would totally fit lore.
Yeah, we actually
But
would.
the thing is,
Shouldn't be
to
too hard
actually
to
play the
implement.
event, all of you have signed up to be on Clan Jade Falcon. So
Well,
it's
then-
just Clan Jade Falcon eats itself, or
Yeah,
you have
but-
an
yeah.
for an event.
two rivaling Star Commander from Clan Jade Falcon. Those things happened.
Yeah.
It would fit with lore.
It would be hilarious though if you have in the future IS versus IS, like one faction's invading the other, and the defending faction has so many people waiting to defend, they just fight amongst themselves.
Again, wouldn't be too far off, especially if the defending faction is Hosmeric.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, you do make a good point, and also probably a loyalist, or loyalty points. Basically, they still got the merc, they still got the like all the different houses and the clans. But you, from what we understand, you can't if you're fighting for say Steiner, you can't gain Davion. like loyalty points. And so like if they just made it so you just gain loyalty points for whatever faction you're part of, say Davion, and you're helping out Steiner or helping out Merrick or Lau, like whatever, basically, you could still gain those points. But according to this, you can't. It's like, yeah, that's a no-go for me, because you're spending so much time doing that. Yeah, go ahead.
Another change, I think, is just to bring back the fact that if you want to be a Marek loyalist, a Lao loyalist, or whatever, just let them do it, because some people really like having their own, being loyal to one faction, to be dedicated to that faction. And forcibly removing them all and having them only being able to play at certain times is like, what's the whole point of this change? Well, it means when you drop into a match, all of one side have one faction's colors and all the other side have the other faction's colors, and those little boxes. Is it really that bad that on one side, there were Mareks and Laos there? I mean, sure, it's not fully lore, but you don't play MWO for the lore, and it's been like that forever. I do not care that, when we did IS versus Clan, on the IS side, there was just people from all the different factions somehow all fighting on the front line here against the clans. Like, why would Lao have so many random pilots here, or Marek or Davian? They aren't on the front lines, but it just let people choose their factions.
I do agree with you on that one, because the lore is pretty much out the window, so might as well just go ahead and let that go in.
Random loaded, but though Davian did have a bunch of people on the front.
Well, helping out Steiner, so yeah.
Proportionally,
yeah.
But Lau and Merrick, though, like they really didn't have anybody.
Kind of like, nah, that's your issue, but
exactly.
So like those are two good outcomes that they could probably do: fix the fix the map and basically to do loyalty points, or have basically your faction you're dedicated to being inside that thing. Yeah, I just God, it's just, you watch a train wreck, right? You're like, ooh, this would be interesting, and then you watch it and like, oh my God, this is horrific. This is horrific.
It's weird as well. Like the last two times they've done big sweeping changes that they've had PTSs for, the LRM changes and the faction warfare changes. It's been just a slow train wreck for both of them, and particularly, I mean, just like the LRM changes, the biggest part was the AMS change that they never told us the numbers of.
And they never will.
They have told us last patch when they slightly buffed some numbers.
Yeah.
But it's now a lot less documented than it used to be, which is a nuisance.
The whole like direct fire LRM changes are actually pretty cool. I like those, and then the indirect fire ones, those are actually not too bad. But the AMS is like, you run AMS, you're just gonna blow through anything.
They kept lying to us. They say, "Oh, it's the LRM changes." Yeah, sure. The biggest thing was actually AMS in that patch. Like, you just deleted LRMs even more than they were before, even with the direct fire. Like everyone's switched to ATMs. Dead.
To maybe stay slightly on topic, there's one more thing I would like to bring to attention, where PGI kind of pulled the Game of Thrones and simply forgot about one of their promises.
What's that?
End of conflict rewards. I remember distinctly that PGI promised us that at the end of the conflict, depending on whether your side won or lost, you're gonna get rewards.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I can't see anything of this in here. And I think that would be a really big thing on how to get people to actually care about conflicts and play conflicts, if you get good stuff. At the very least, MC, maybe even mechs and such.
Are you kidding? And do you realize what happened last time? The S storm that happened because the one side lost, and they're like, we don't get anything, we don't get a trophy for participating, and the other team got like mechs and like all different like Seabills and everything. It was an S storm. Everyone hated it.
Yeah, it does feel pretty bad to play for hours and hours and hours on end. The rewards, because you tried to help Innosphere not lose so much.
Yeah.
You can give both sides rewards. That's fine. Just
how about like
participation? Conflict seems kind of weird, especially since it was promised.
Well, how about just like participation awards? Basically, like if you do 10 matches, you get X amount of 10 million like Seabills or something like that. Something that where it's balanced at each side. That way, at least you actually become part of the like event or something. Because if you have like one side one side gets it, the clans get it almost all the time, like when they win the map, and so they're always getting all the bonus stuff, all the good things. because everyone goes to clan because easy, but they always get that kind of stuff, and so they're always getting the new and cooler things, and they're sort of sitting there with their with their hands stuff somewhere, going, "What are we gonna do?"
Oh, here's a different idea. If you don't want to give out mechs and such as rewards, how about making at least a forum post that's gonna be pinned with every player that participated on the winning side?
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's not
Kinda
gonna.
neat.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But people would probably care about this a fair bit, and fingers crossed it shouldn't cause a shitstorm.
That'd be fine, actually.
but
That'd
yeah.
be cool.
Anything to mark the end of the conflict. Because right now it's kind of like, oh yeah, it ended. One side won. Sure.
Yeah.
Let's reset the map and keep going.
Well, on top of that, you could have not just players, but units. How much units contributed
Yep.
to the victories and whatnot.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, actually, you're right. Having a big long list of names might be a bad idea, but unit-wise, as far as XYZ like units, let's say over 5 people like in unit do actually play the game, be a lot better than just having like a bunch of one-man units like running in there.
Yeah. But for the most part, I think my biggest contention is just simply playability. That you want to make it as playable as possible and as enticing as possible. For that, all they needed to do this entire time was just increase payouts at the end of every match. And they sort of done that, but it's overshadowed by all the awkward things they put in the way of just playing the damn game mode, of just picking the faction you want to. And yeah, that is just the opposite of what they fundamentally needed to do at the to make faction play playable.
Yeah. They also did ELO challenges, or the ELO system, basically. So that actually was, I think, a bonus for it, though. Basically like the top groups fight the top groups, and then they get fill-ins, and then if you're pug, you're not going to be put against the top groups. Hopefully.
Somewhat, yeah. I think it on paper sounds nice, but there's not that many people on actual faction play during the peak hours. So there's only so much sorting you can do, and a lot of people are kind of annoyed by that 10-second countdown timer. Keep going off and off and off and off and off. Just
It's a 2-minute timer now.
It's fake news.
The swirly thing is just seeing how many people in the queue and just waiting until it can actually find a match can be a lot simpler and less annoying.
Yeah.
At the very least, put in a background and allow people to go on the Mac lab doing it.
Yeah.
You are allowed, I think, to you are able to actually talk in-game chat, I think, now.
Yes, the chat's enabled, so at least that's something, but still.
Yeah.
Who actually used the chat?
I mean, I'd like to when it's there.
At least I want the option to,
Lash, are you using the faction and unit chat though?
Not really.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is really.
Yeah, I don't use it because it's just people whining.
I'm stuck in queue for 5 hours. Somebody please come on. Oh, it's just people whining.
Or even better, the salty people. Holy crap, why are people too dumb to realize they need to pick that and that faction now to balance it out?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of that in PDS.
Okay.
Yeah.
To maybe end on a positive note, at least I do like what they did with the freelancers and mercenaries regarding the 5% XP and otherwise Siebel boost. At least that gives some fluff for people whether they want to be freelancer or mercenary, and it's some slight extra payout.
Yeah.
And that's per match they play, right? For the story mode?
Yes.
See, the XP thing, okay, that's just whatever. It's not that hard to go and get, even on my alt account, XP is not that hard to get. Just gotta be a little bit better and kills and stuff like that. And mercenaries, the 5% like SIBO boost. What I want to have is loyalty points, but I don't want to be loyal to stuck at one thing. I want to be able to, I guess, change different things in case I want to, like later on. Because I think it's you're stuck, right?
I mean, I see your point. I'm just saying it's nice that they're adding some fluff and people can decide, although they can't decide as much as we would like them to be able to.
They're giving a tiny, if almost inconsequential benefit to actually what thing you choose. It's better than before where there was no real difference for the most part. But it's almost completely incidental.
Now the work team is supposed to do some hot patch for the faction warfare kind of later on. I don't know if they announced that or anything.
So yeah, and the initial patch notes, they said, oh, it's not coming out on the patch. It's going to be fixed later. But I must have missed it, but it almost seemed like Faction Play came with the patch, like they were able to squeeze it out in time, or the hotfix was so close to it that it wasn't a problem.
Okay. As Knights of Round Table said, enough with that silliness. So let's go over the patch, the other patch notes, real quick here.
We could do that, or we could mention a certain podcast or Q&A session at this point, because it would fit quite nicely.
We could.
Yeah, that kind of might actually segue into the faction warfare stuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly like
Faction
everything
warfare.
though.
Apparently, Wasbollock wanted to do a Q&A session. Actually, as the time of this recording last night, so on Friday night, and we were kind of interested in it because a bunch of negative backlash about faction play, and we were kind of interested to see what was had to say about it, if maybe he had plans for the future or answers to some of the questions fans had. And also he wanted to talk a bit about the future of Mechwarrior Online, which is obviously greatly important to all of us who play it.
It's put on hold now.
Sadly.
On hold for something.
Sadly, apparently both the game and the Q&A session are put on hold for a kind of flimsy excuse, in my opinion. So they wanted to post it on NGNG TV, which is a Twitch streaming channel hosted by two people now working for PGI directly. And the guy who was supposed to host the Q&A session, Bombadil, was unavailable for the Q&A session. And then PGI just decided to ditch it, which I find kinda a flimsy excuse, knowing that the channel does have a second host, and knowing that PGI could probably do it on a different channel if they wanted to. So it feels weird. What do you guys think?
So yeah, they pushed it back an entire week, which at least with people have been asking for a while, where the new mech packs, what's going on with the game, what's with the very shoddy patchwork that's been done on the game every month. And so yeah, they come up with this announcement. Russ is going to talk about the future of the game, give us an idea of how things are going. It's like, oh, good, communication. Oh, sorry, we're delaying for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Suddenly all my worries of fears are coming back again, and it seems like you're not prioritizing this. I don't know enough about have anyone looked into the logistics behind No Guts No Galaxy, like was Sean available at that time? Because yeah, he and Bombadil are able to host it, I'm pretty sure.
We don't know about Sean, but what we do know is that PGI does have their own Twitch channel, and they do have their own streaming equipment in the studio, because they've done it before.
But they've been advertising though for like No Guts on Galaxy for a little bit though, so like everyone's thinking it's going to be on there instead of like their own channels.
I mean, sure, but how hard would it have been to tweet out, make a post, and get people over?
Yeah, true.
At the very least, since they did know it a couple of days in advance.
Or worst case, have the No Guts No Galaxy just host the other channel just in case.
The thing is, it's a live Q&A, which implies at least you want to get that communication out there. If you want to just speak to the community, you can pre-record a video, you can write up a long explanation in text, you can set up a pre-recorded live stream, etc., etc. Like if you have the luxury of time, there's many ways to do it, but with a live stream, the priority is you want to do it as quickly as possible. But it just delaying a whole week implies it's not actually that much of a priority, which just doesn't feel good. If you have all this a week or so to announce it, and then another week you have to wait until it maybe actually finally comes out, it's been wasting a fortnight trying to rush out a message when could you just type it out or something? Like the problem is we've got complete silence, and I'm sure at least in the case of No Guts No Galaxy, they probably don't mind streaming on a weekend day. And if this is really important, particularly like if you're head of the company like Russ, can you make some time on the weekend? Just push it back a day or two. But no, we're just going to push it back a whole week.
And what
for
sucks,
a kind of flimsy reason.
Yeah, actually, I do agree with that one. What sucks though is like that's my birthday stream next Friday, so I'm kind of upset about that. because Barbarella's coming out, and I need to be all happy and stuff like that. When I'm listening to this, I'm like, oh god, no. It's like crap. I need to be happy while I'm doing the shit I'm doing.
What I think is for me personally, the worst thing about their pushback is right now they're having all the negative backlash over faction play, and this would have been a way to answer all of that negative backlash.
Yeah.
But now that we're getting silence for a whole week, everyone on the forum can spiral out their assault, spiral out their hate, and make the backlash even worse, where PGI did have an option to answer it. And I'm personally getting the feeling they just didn't expect the backlash, even though it was kind of obvious from the PTS feedback, and they just don't have an answer to it. They don't know what to do, and that's why they're delaying. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I actually do agree with that.
That's how I feel. I mean, it's just, it's going to stew for a week.
The final end result, at least, no matter what the logistics and whatnot behind it, is that PGI has always had issues with PR, and this patch has done a huge hit for them, and delaying the stream just added more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, the post I put on the forums for the faction warfare was not a happy thing. I just asked what do you guys think, and asked a couple questions, and it wasn't too good.
Yep, there's plenty of comments on the patch notes. They even PGI started their own thread to talk about it a bit, and just lots of people talking about the faction warfare changes. Not a big fan of it, and there's questions about the future of the game, and we'll just have to speculate. Or at least finally we might have our answers next week.
Okay, so next thing is what here? The Rifleman IIC. Your thoughts on it?
Might as well.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it. It looks ugly.
I like
those are my thoughts. You guys keep going.
I think I like it because it does look ugly, because I like ugly mechs, but I haven't had a lot of time to play with it. It seems like that's now a common trend where the mech comes out, we do a podcast. It's like, what are your thoughts? I need more time. Those are my thoughts, because they seems like they could be interesting. Like, I've been using the 2C4 that has the ATM range, I think, and just been boating that.
I don't need enough time. I can already tell you, it's Incubus. Period. End of story. It's Incubus.
No, that's a low bar, Bob. That's a low.
It's a low bar, but I'm telling you though, man, the only one I like is just the 2C2, and that's it, which is the 6 ballistics. That's the only one I like. The rest I played. I tried different builds. I tried the community, like they were giving me builds. I was building all these different builds. I did not like it. I had to trudge through this morning, going through with the 4 large pulse laser one, and I just, oh man, it's up to in the okay. I don't think it's on par to the Incubus, but it's really damn close to the Incubus in my eyes, and I hated the Incubus. So yeah, that's how I think it is. Now, we did test out the hat, the sombrero, and it is actually according to right, left side, back, and center torso and everything, and the little dome on top, it does no damage. So if you're trying to hit that little dome on top, it's going to do nothing. But
there's a tiny little bump you're talking about.
Yeah, tiny little bump on top.
Tiny little bump, because that might be confused with the whole sombrero.
Yeah, yeah. But it's I'm not happy with it. I think we had this discussion before, and it wasn't good.
So the Rifleman IIC has a lot of very stiff competition in the 65-tonner category with the Ebon Jag and the Hellbringer, very good clan mechs. And this boy, right out of the gate, comes out, and he's really big, like a huge target. It stands comparable heights to an Atlas. The arms are ridiculously long, catching a whole bunch of flak if you ever twist to the side. And that's where all your weapons are mounted. So if you and the thing also with the hitboxes, it seems like the center torso is very wide with this thing.
That I can vouch for.
Yeah.
Because we are easy to call out.
Yeah, it's sort of the width of its actual, not the full width of its hips, but it's a big proportion of its actual torso, which means if you're staring at the target, you get called out extremely quickly in this thing. And if you twist to the side, your arms get blown off extremely quickly. So this thing is a really fragile glass cannon. On top of that, of course, as it peeks over a ridge, its sombrero, lets everyone know that it's coming. Its sombrero can take fire. Its eyes, its cockpit goes over the ledge, but not the weapons. It's worse than the rifleman in that way. Like, it actually, the arms are a little bit low. So if you can see it, you're not always able to shoot it. So you always have to wait a little bit to actually fully expose. And some mechs, even like the Oldbobs mentioning the rifleman with 6 ballistics, you can do 6 AC2s on it, LB2s, UAC2s, whatever. Those arms with the AC2s become huge. And that's a lot of tonnage invested into the DACA. And not only that, a lot of it is low, and there's a lot of convergence issues with this mech. So it's just got everything going against it on paper. It can trade at range okay. It's a clan mech. It can, it's got nice lightweight weapons, but it's also really slow. It's just got everything, almost everything going against this build, this mech. And sure, you can put a decent firepower on it and fiddle with the engine, but for the most part, I haven't seen that many Rifleman IICs on launch, and even those who are piloting it are really suffering.
Maybe.
So, by the final verdict, Nightstar, better or worse?
I mean,
the thing is, I think Oldbob's allusions to the Incubus is more apt in the sense that Nightstar does actually have survival quirks, but it's a very, very different mech to sort of play. Whereas with the clans can do decent damage, as long as they're not shot back at. And that's sort of the Rifleman IIC in a nutshell. You do want to just be that fire support mech, but you really, really hate it when anyone shoots back at you, because it's either always going to your weapon arms, which fall off very quickly, or your center torso. In the future, I think this thing really needs its torso hitboxes to be readdressed so that the side torsos fall off a bit, actually take a bit more flak. As often with quirks, the whole point is to address geometry issues, and this thing really has issues with all of its weapons almost always being stuck in huge arms.
Yeah.
The arms need a survival buff, just like machine gun, javelin, and whatnot. It does feel like a glass cannon, like the Incubus. Its closest contemporary, I guess, would be the Novacat, somewhat. The Novacat also has the wide arms and the obvious torsos, so you either take torso damage when staring at the target, or have your weapons blown off when you torso twist. Have fun! But at least the Novacat actually feels somewhat tankier, and there are like survivability buffs if I'm remembering correctly. So it's better at shooting things than the Novacat. It's not so ridiculously wide, but it's got the same issues of feeling like it's got kind of low mounts, it's got kind of wide mounts, and it hates getting shot at.
yeah, but I think so far in this game, I think most people I've seen who have this mech and who are currently using this mech, I think they may have found out, of course, that they're getting cored out or their arms are getting lost. So I know in the matches that I've seen, they've mostly been on the outskirts, being those real annoying players who just tend to keep far, far, far away with a large laser or Lerm or ATM boat of sorts. So they're
Well, I
just
didn't
trying to
see that
play
many
support. I know,
Rifleman
but
2Cs, and
but
the
when you
missile
do see them,
ones are locked behind additional paywalls. So I
yeah,
don't see missile rifleman at all very
oof.
often. Like, the most common I see is 6 ballistics or the 4 large pulse laser one.
Yeah, and those ones I still see just at a distance, which I think people are just using them as long range support.
Yeah,
Which I
though.
mean does not negate the things that we just said, but I think that's been the most able technique for this mech at this point, which is not
Yeah,
really a good thing or a bad thing, but that's just how they're playing it.
if you want a long range support, you might as well just be like a Hellbringer or an Ebon
Yeah.
Jaguar. They have a lot less problems than the Rifleman 2C, and they can actually spread damage, which is really nice. So yeah, on top of the very disappointing faction warfare changes that they sadly implemented, the Rifleman IIC, for those more dedicated players who actually bought them, is a huge letdown as well. It's what was the last mech that came out? Because that also
The
was
Marauder 2.
yeah, it's just been week mech after week mech after week mech.
Which
Well,
the
at
funny
least,
thing
at
is,
least the Marauder 2 is pretty to look at.
I mean, it's pretty,
Yeah.
but the thing is though, like I recall on patch day, everyone had a Marauder 2. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people had that mech, and then after a week, you barely see them.
What, the first day for the Warhammer 2C, I'm literally like 10 in each team. You know, basically when I dropped the first time with the Rifleman, I barely saw, it was me and someone else, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, something's wrong here.
The Marauder, of course, came with the Mechwarrior 5 Pre-Order, which
Yeah,
of course have just in general a lot more interest. No matter what mech you attach to it, if they gave away the Rifleman for free with the Mechwarrior 5 Pre-Order, there'll be a lot more Riflemans waddling about trying not to die.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, though, other things to mention is obviously people were hoping the Marauder 2 would get some buffs, particularly CT health buffs. That didn't happen at the patch. I don't expect the Rifleman 2C to get buffs either. What little I saw, like on No Guts, No Galaxy, they had Chris on and they're saying, "Hey, Chris, this thing, it falls apart in an instant." And he's like, "Yeah, well, you know, people weren't too big a fan of the Vapor Eagle, and then it became really popular, so you know, we have to be really careful about any buffs we give to mechs." It's like, well, yep, I guess Rifleman's just going to be dead for a while, if not forever.
They also did come out with the new mechs, didn't they? With the Pre-Order
Mechwarrior
Mechs.
5
Oh.
Pre-Order Mechs, which they did not create much of an... Yeah, they didn't do much to announce it other than, you know, that kind of live stream announcement that never happened.
Yeah. You know, and what do you guys think about the Mechwarrior 5 Pre-Order Mechs?
Surprisingly, I like them.
Well, you like the color because you turned into a Comstar mech.
Not only that, I actually like what you can do with them.
Mhm.
Like especially the catapult. I had so much fun on the catapult on Friday. Going back to the old ways of AC40 catapults.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The new catapult, it can do all the catapult K2 things just without the energy weapons. But that means, yeah, LB20, AC40, all that kind of stuff is very viable. It likes having its arms shot off much more than the K2.
Since we're on the catapult though and the arms, I actually found that to be advantageous because people see the big catapult arms and they instinctively go for the catapult arms because if you shoot off the arms, most catapults are useless. That's given. So on the C2 catapult, I get my arms shot off, and yeah, people just focus on the arms more than on side torso, which is obviously their downfall. And I've had a couple times that laser Heilbringer would just alpha strike my arm, and then I would turn around and blast him with AC40. And kind of cool. So I actually think the big arms are advantageous in this particular case.
Yeah, but you have to go with, you know, 2 big ballistics because you're not really wanting the missile weapons.
Yeah, 4 missiles. I'm not gonna cut it for this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's worked well enough thus far from what I've played. It's just a little tricksy to build, and yeah, you are generally just leaning on those 2 ballistic hard points.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't say much on these mechs. I haven't really used them that much, so I'll leave it to you guys.
I didn't get them, so this is all on you guys.
You didn't get Mechwarrior 5?
I didn't pre-order, man.
What?
Money and time. I'm sorry, I didn't pre-order it.
You should have said something. I would have bought it for you, man.
Don't worry about it.
Dude, you gotta
a lot of free stuff.
You gotta hang with us.
I know.
We gotta get it for you now, and because it's co-op, 4-person co-op.
The
So
pre-order is over. So you have to wait until it's on Steam or whatnot.
Yeah, that's fine.
Larch, I'm disappointed.
I know, be disappointed. So I'm gonna hang back in my shame corner now. Well, excuse me.
All right, let's keep going. The Marauder, I think by the you played it a fair bit today.
A couple of matches, yeah. I mean, you can play it just like the Tempest. You know, you can focus on just the 2 big missile launchers on the side torsos. You have ECM, it covers you. It was the one that was best on paper, and it does perform fairly well for a Marauder.
I would agree. It's literally a Tempest. I don't know which one of the 2 is better. I think they're kind of on par, but it's fun. It's okay.
And then we have Not a Grasshopper,
That's
which
all.
is basically a grasshopper. 70 tons,
Yeah.
jump jets, large engine cap, I guess. You have to take an NG boat. A lot of sort of use the quote-unquote high mounts. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's nothing special, but it's okay. And it looks pretty.
And now with the king crab.
I would
King
say
crab.
just one thing is it's got your regular Warhammer agility, which if you ever run it with the max engine, it feels awful because it takes like 4 seconds to get up to max speed, even with max agility tree, and 5 seconds without. So it's like playing like because you're taking a light 400 or XL 400, all you could do is like 6 medium pulse lasers or so, and you feel like a really large and drunk wolfhound in that thing. Like that max engine of 400 is a hilarious gimmick, and it feels really weird to play, but it's really not worth your time. And also, just even if you're taking a smaller engine, a 300, 325, whatever, you're taking not a grasshopper that is less agile than a grasshopper. Like the grasshopper has 50% better agility than the Warhammer. All you're taking it for is it's a Warhammer. Woo, Warhammers. So yeah, I think this thing really, it would have been really cute to have a Warhammer with a huge engine cap and good baseline agility. But PGI are very stingy with real quirks, real differences between their mechs.
Alright, then last mech would be the king crab.
Mhm.
4 ballistics, 4 missile. So the selling point is obviously the fact you can mount more missiles than you usually can. Personally, I've just turned it into a bigger 000 with worms and light machine guns. It's fun. I like it.
Yep.
Haven't
King
used it
Crab
yet.
has goose quirks, so you can run 2 Gauss Rifle 20% cooldown. It's kind of cute, but you're King Crab, you have to expose a lot to get both arms to be able to snipe. And if you're sniping with the King Crab, you're usually going to take a lot more in return. In the most, just the high amounts of the missiles is really nice. You just take MRM 100, MRM 120 or whatever, and just lay down a lot of splatter.
Those are the MW5 Pre-Order Mechs.
Yeah. There they are, guys.
I really like the paint scheme.
Oh yeah.
Other than the golden part, that's really hard to color and make it. Yeah, other than just it being golden. The other two, the main colors on the mech, they are really well done. Yep, you can have very pretty, not a grasshopper, very pretty, not a catapult K2, and very pretty, not the other missile marauder, and very pretty, another king crab.
But they are very pretty. So pretty. Love it.
And zebra bonus, of course, which, as always, it has to be mentioned, there's an actual 15% greater earnings. So just way more C-bills, AXP, whatnot in the game after this patch, which is a nice bonus.
Yeah.
And that would have been really great for PGI's PR if they had made more of a deal of it, rather than putting it as, little bonuses. Little benefits to the game.
Okay.
And again, we got them for free as an add-on on what we
Yeah.
already got. So
Yep.
they're great for they're a perfect value. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Perfect value.
Yeah. Okay, so next we got Hibernal Rift. You guys notice a difference on the sight? On the
So
glare?
The sight is still very white, which still gives you snow blindness, but it has less glare.
Yeah.
So, and you, at least when I played it, it was not so snowy, so you could actually see mechs in the distance, like you could on, Canyon Network. You're not always sort of trying to stare through the mist like on Frozen City Night.
Yeah, I actually haven't dropped into it except for just now in testing grounds, and oh my god, there's actual contrast now.
Oh, I know.
Because now that the glare is gone, I can finally see the mountains that have a little bit of that grayish blue texture. So that actually does help me see where a wall begins and ends now. I
The
approve of
big
this.
things, you can actually follow the topography of the land with your eye a lot more easily because it all blurred together when it was all white and there was a glare effect on it.
Yeah, this is actually pretty nice.
And mechs actually stand out from the background, so you're not stuck always using thermal vision to actually spot your targets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate this because I mean this map is pretty much Canyon Network, but I do really enjoy the minor changes to it. So yeah, I appreciate this.
Mhm.
Although it did turn into NASCAR a lot, but
Well, I
that's
mean,
another issue.
that's-
Companion network.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
So next, I think we got the HotFix. You guys even look at this?
I think we should maybe finish off with the patch notes. There are quite a
Okay.
few things in
Okay.
there. Haven't touched on it.
Let's back up on that.
Let's start with the first thing in the patch notes, actually, the trial mechs updates. What do you guys think about the new-ish trial mechs?
Well, let me
Well,
go back and take a look
They
here.
just cycled as always, though usually people don't play it unless you're a new player. It did cause the problem that I predicted it would, which was the event was still going on where you have to get a kill/KMDD with mechs that happen to be trial mechs. And if you don't own those mechs, you obviously can't do it. So, but you can do it because of their trial. But because they switched it out, you couldn't. So PGI are like, oh crap, we switched the mechs. We need to switch them back and give people more time. And this is extra hassle they had on top of all the other problems and
Yeah.
complaining people had about the implementation of the most recent patch. So yeah, new trial mechs. That screwed over enough of people to make a fuss about it that PGI had to suddenly rush to deal with that problem as well as all the other problems.
Right. I am gonna say I like most of the builds on those trial mechs, so if you are a new player, those are really good to check out and get a general idea of what you like and what you don't like.
I always tell people like before they buy mechs is try the trial mechs first and see what type of weight class you like first
Yeah,
before you
get-
start
get-
spending a lot
get
of
the
money.
feel.
Yeah.
Especially since there are 16 trial mechs now, so you've got a bunch to pick from.
Yeah.
And just give it a try. Don't expect to do 1,000 damage in those, but they're mostly okay.
Get good scrub. Got to do 1,000 points first game.
I still wish instead of cycling trial mechs, they actually looked at the trial mech system. Just for example, have trial mechs start off with skill points so that they're not, that they're already, a lot of them are older, obsolete builds. You're very limited what you can do with trial mechs, and you're also 10%, everyone else is like 10% stronger mechs in most regards. And you have a lot to catch up on when you're using a trial mech. Like a simple thing, if you're a new player, trial mech with max survivability tree. That way they don't die so quickly. Survivals are going to be of good use to a new player.
True.
Alright, there's a tiny thing in the patch notes located under bug fixes and improvements. Apparently, general rewards across all game modes have been increased by approximately 15%.
Yep, that's what I've been mentioning.
Yes. Thank God.
I honestly didn't even realize it, but I mean, that's good.
Yep.
Well, we normally
That's
just
why I said they
bypass
should
that
make it
though.
more prominent because it's all the way down in the bugs and fixtures, which is sort of like reading the small print of the of the patch notes.
Yeah, usually we just ignore those.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that would be a good thing to let the community actually know. It could be something that could really help your PR, but of course, they hid it away.
So, general rewards across all game modes. I noticed it didn't increase, for example, the scouting rewards. Is it just due to the game mode rewards or just all rewards?
I haven't been looking at the exact numbers. I don't know what things have actually changed because they also say stuff like average. So it implies some rewards you get from in-game have been increased. I just don't know what those are.
Alright. So maybe we can do a follow-up on this next week.
Yeah.
It just would require me to actually know what the numbers were before and after, and I didn't really look at the exact earnings before either. I just played the game and got my rewards.
Well, there's probably going to be someone on Reddit who's got an exact spreadsheet for this.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Kanagashi has it.
He's always good at that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing in the patch notes are a whole bunch of tuning and value changes. Oof.
The only one I really
There's
paid attention to was just the Hunchback 4J. All the rest of them I don't really.
But that's because you play the Hunchback
Yeah,
4J.
yeah, exactly. So
You
that's
play
what.
one of the obsolete mechs that hardly see any play
Exactly.
because they are mostly obsolete.
Hey,
And
I'm
all of
old,
these
man.
changes, most of the changes, to mechs that are really lacking are mostly incidental. They get a little bit here and there. They're still almost completely incidental changes to mechs that aren't that good, and they're now not that good. Like It was funny on patch day seeing people trying to play the Viper and being reminded why they shouldn't play the Viper. Sure, it's got survival quirks, but it needs to get close, and the meta is not up close. It does not reward that playstyle enough, at least as a single player. So yeah, poor people. They tried to improve the Viper, but nope, Viper is still not really that useful.
Yeah.
And of course, me and a lot of others kind of are annoyed that we've got the Viper C because it has an energy center torso hardpoint. We're trying to not have the arms fall off and have some weapons still left, and they did not improve the Viper C as much as the others. So yeah, my Viper, all I've got from it was extra legs durability. That is all my Viper has got. Is that make it viable? No, hell no.
Mm-mm.
There are a couple of interesting things in there. For example, all of the catapults have received minor buffs.
Yep.
As I'm a fanatic catapult player, I really like this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, PTI. You made my subpar mech slightly more par, I guess. I also find it very outstanding that the Hunchback 2C Deathwish got a armor quirk. Those are
Yep.
really well on the clan side. And, well, if you've got a Deathwish, you can still pilot the Deathwish. It's still terrible.
If you got a Death Wish and you have a Death Wish, you could play the Death Wish.
There you go. And the Raven for X, universal range 10%. So our beloved Boom Chicken has 10% AC20 range.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
15% cooldown.
It finally has a bit of advantage, at least in cooldown and whatnot, over it has more weapon quirks than the Raven Hero, but the Raven Hero still has the much better survival quirks. So is 5% cooldown and a bit more range and whatnot, I think, really worthwhile. I still would say not, and that the Raven Hero is still full Ravens pay to win. But at least the not so pay to win Raven is not as terrible as it used to be, just slightly less terrible.
Yeah. And I think personally, I kind of like how they gave the Warhammer 4L. It's not really a huge lot, but it's interesting how they gave it a moderate mobility increase for the 4L Warhammer.
Mm-hmm. That and missile cooldown, because it has only one missile hard point.
I mean,
So
they
your
always do that.
MRM30 or MRM40 or whatever you shoved in that thing, trying to make it not suck. That missile launcher is actually a lot more interesting.
Not
Right.
suck.
And then in the Marauder, the stealth armor cooldown quirk. Is this the first time we have seen this, or does another mech have this?
First time we've seen the stealth cooldown quirk, because as the notes describe, they were having difficulty implementing this, and now that they've able to implement it, they're putting it on the one of the Marauder 2, the Marauder 2 with ECM and the ECM Warhammer.
Yeah.
All right, there you go, new quirk.
Cool.
Yep, almost completely forgettable. As I said last week, this cooldown quirk would have much more impact on or be interesting or potent on a light mech, because those are actually going to want to flicker their stealth on and off. They can't take as many heat sinks, and stealth makes a lot more sense for smaller mechs. And just being able to, hit and run with stealth a lot more regularly and turning it on and off makes a lot more sense than a 100-tonner, which poking and exposing takes you a good solid 20 seconds or whatever. If you're making a stealth build with these larger mechs, you're typically going to plan to have it on for a long time. We're going to have plenty of heat sinks, or only have it on for once or twice, and you're not flickering it on and off. So it's an interesting enough quirk, but it's needed on smaller mechs. Just throw it on the Raven. Why not?
I mean, it can use all the help I can get. I mean, why not?
There was a small controversy with the King Crabs with the double AC20s and how they didn't want to be overpowered.
Yeah.
Based off the 15% cooldown rate. But I have to argue though that the heavy Gauss rifle pretty much blows it out of the water, pinpoint damage, and even without cooldowns.
You have twin heavy Gauss with 10% cooldown.
Yeah.
on the Fafnir,
Yeah.
it's much more pinpoint, less convergence issues, very fast projectile. It's going to take out lights a lot more reliably than a wide, less agile
Yeah.
king crab with slow-moving projectiles and those horrible low and wide arms with terrible convergence. But in terms of would the two hate like as I've been talking about at least to some other people is like you could give the king crab 15% heat gen already what they gave it this patch and the heat scale limit quirk and it still wouldn't be that great on average, at least with how the game currently plays.
Yeah.
And even then you would just give it a niche that would be kind of interesting to play, like it wouldn't take over the game like sort of PGI Fears or something like that. You could give it both and there'll be no problem. The Warhammer, the King Crab could just keep firing over and not have a problem, just like a heavy Gorse mech can keep firing and not really have a problem. In the end, though, from PGI, I would say again, this patch had the horrible faction warfare change. They really needed to work on their PR, and wussing out on that quirk really put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths because it just doesn't like the PGI's reasoning is terrible. It wouldn't break the game like they're afraid of. Like they're just being they listen to community's advice, look at it, and then give us a terrible reason to why they won't do it. just put the token quirk in the game and give people a bone. I mean, there's interesting. You can talk about the numbers for a while because 2AC20 do have good DPS for the tonnage invested, and they have a 15% cooldown. So they actually can chew through a center torso better than the two heavy Gorse at close range, I think, or at least they're very comparable. They don't explode like heavy Gorse does. They don't require such a ridiculous tonnage investment like heavy Gorse. They don't. The ammo is a little bit better than heavy Gorse, etc., etc. There is reasons that 2AC20 at close range will actually be better than 2 heavy Gorse, or other things like 2 UAC20 because UAC20 spread damage.
Yeah.
In the end, though, it is an extremely limited range weapon. You can only go, optimum range is only 270. You can maybe spam shots up to 500 meters, but you're doing scratch damage at that point. Whilst heavy Gorse, of course, can reach up to 600 meters and still do regular Gorse damage. Like heavy Gorse has the versatility that AC20 does not, and regular AC20s, they do produce, even with heat generation quirks and no heat scale limit, they are still fairly toasty, and you do have to put a lot into actually running it. And on top of that, you're a king crab, you're a huge target with terrible conversions, wide arms, you have to expose fully to actually fire these things. If it has to be slightly better than 2 heavy Gorse to actually be worthwhile putting it in that thing, I think that actually makes sense. But as it is, at least, there was the controversy because people were suggesting it. It's a really trivial quirk to put in the game, honestly, and PGI sort of wussed out on it. And from a PR perspective, it was a really bad move. And from a gameplay rationale perspective, it sort of signaled to the community that PGI was out of touch, which, on top of like the Rifleman IIC and their reason for that, out of touch. I've been saying lately that PGI balance decisions is a bit like throwing darts at a dartboard, and all the scores on the dartboard are like 1 and 1 point.
It's kind of like Vice picks their topics for the articles.
Okay.
So, to wrap up the whole quirk and tuning stuff, big jump jets have been slightly buffed in terms of heat. MRMs and rocket launchers are moving slightly faster. And if you're interested in details, go ahead and read the patch notes.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything left for us to really discuss in depth.
I've used MRMs with the improved velocity. They feel more or less the same because the buff is a very slight change.
It's slight.
Over the period of 1 second, instead of traveling 475, it travels 500 meters. Wow, 25 meters.
Now, let's move on to the thing Bob wanted to talk about 30 minutes earlier. The hotfix. Bob, go ahead and tell us what the hotfix was all about.
Oh, God, you guys put me in a spot here. There's a bug fix. There you go.
Thanks.
Perfect. No,
right.
Let's go good.
So this week we saw a major and really, really annoying bug where the event tracking was completely broken, and I don't think I have to add anything. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Everyone
It was the
involved.
last day or two after the patch to actually do those events. And so not only were your trial mechs disappeared, any progress you made didn't count, which
Yep.
is doubly awful. So they thankfully, to recompense, they patched that out quickly. They added even more time to those last couple of events to finish.
3 days.
They're oddly not the shooting down UAV one, which I guess Oldbob might be happy about.
Thank God.
And on the most recent event, they added a do like 50 match score and you get 7 days premium time as an apology to the community, which I really liked. And
Yeah.
it goes along with what I'm saying. Give premium time first. Hooray!
Right. And also, as a lessons learned from PTI side, they are delaying a double XP event because they are not certain whether they've actually fixed the issue. So
Oh, they delayed it.
Go PTI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know
You
that
believe
actually.
even less in yourself than we do.
Oh
This
God.
patch just,
Jeez.
Damn, Ian.
Shots fired.
I'm sorry, I had to.
I mean, it must have been pandemonium in PTI's offices. Just, they put out this lazy patch and then they realize, oh crap, we've messed up so much stuff.
Oh, no.
What do we fix first?
Between faction warfare and everything else.
So
Alright.
that leaves us with 2 minor topics to wrap up tonight's
Yeah, what's
episode.
next?
There are events going on. Even more events.
Yes.
As always.
Yay, events.
It's your typical standard fare.
Do you guys want to talk about it, or should we just leave it?
Well, you know.
Well, okay, Rifleman IIC event is always just usual. Do X amount of damage, get C bills, whatever. Warhorn and the collector's pack is actually being properly rewarded this time for the 2 people who bought it. The Hot Rod
shields.
Rifleman pattern. Hooray! A real pattern.
Yeah, a real one instead of mountain lion camo. Nice. Rest of them are the standard fare for the Rifleman 2C challenge, so that's not an issue.
Yep, run them stock, earn a few million more C bills, and sell them. That's probably your best investment for life.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Boy,
We're
this episode,
kinda
shots
harsh
fired.
This episode.
This is very sharp today.
Sorry, I was thinking of my criticism dartboard and I landed on harsh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
From stun to kill today.
All right.
Although
And
I
then
did. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
there's the
Yeah.
fallen event. That's
All right. So in accordance with the United States Memorial, is it Memorial Day?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't separate those 3.
When this
Um,
comes up, like when this.
Yeah, with the Memorial Day event, there's a Remember the Fallen event dedicated to Mechwarriors who have died in the years, which I think is a nice touch, even though it's
Big John
symbolic,
Gaming.
but it's a nice touch. And yeah, play the game, get stuff. That's basically it. Just
Yeah,
All of these are nice and easy, I think. Just do ballistic damage, missile damage. They're not forcing you to use, AC2, clan AC2, AC5, AC10, or any
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Yeah.
There's not get 500 match score on top of 100 match score 25 times or something like that.
And this time they're giving out colors.
Yes!
Which is kind of different. Yeah.
More
So
colors,
nice.
That's very nice.
Thank
and,
God.
Even just I think the big thing is colors. Again, very nice. It's good that they're giving out colors. Premium time at the very beginning. That's brilliant. It actually incentivizes you to play
Mhm.
because your first match, you're actually getting that unlocking 50% extra earnings if you don't have premium time. And 200.
quick interjection though. Once you've played the first game, go ahead and actually redeem the rewards.
Yeah.
So you don't end up like me, who played the whole event and at the end clicked redeem. And I was like, oh crap, I couldn't play the whole
But it's nice though that they do have colors. It is good that actually they did this for all the fallen mech warriors that have happened, like Big John Gaming, who passed away I think 2 weeks ago, or I think about 2 weeks ago or so. So that is nice. That is good. And then also the because of like Memorial Day as well too, and easy to go and do. This is, I mean, you played the game last night. I completed everything on my alt account. So it's not that hard, guys, to get out there and just go play the game. And like Biter was saying, thank God for 7 days premium time when you first begin. Boom, you get it. For walking on the field, you get it. So definitely use it, guys, if you guys can.
Yeah, and since we're on the topic of fallen mech warriors, I would like to double down on my notion that we need another Zeus Jenner event. Something similar.
That'd be nice. Something like
That
that.
was that was a really good thing, and
Yeah.
I'm still hoping PGI can repeat this at some point soon.
Now the story on Sarah Jenner was a 12-year-old girl had cancer, and she was playing, and she loved Mechwarrior, and then she passed away because of cancer, and then they made a mech for her, and then gave all the proceeds to cancer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they took the mech she played the most, which was the Jenner F, and they basically put a paint job on it that was something she liked, and yeah. Sold it for a small amount of money, which they all donated. I think it was a really nice touch, and I'm hoping they can repeat it.
Oh yeah, that's great PR actually too, and a very good concept they should do for say the Big John Gaming, like whatever mech he played, like the most might be a good idea, and give to I don't know what he passed away from though. You guys know?
No.
Okay. If you guys know, leave in the comments down below if you guys can. But
and the final item on today's topic list is the THICC Mech Sale.
THICC.
Bob,
what?
Since you were so hilarious at describing the sale earlier, please go ahead and describe to the viewers what the word THICC stands for.
Big, right? I don't know. Big.
You're not completely wrong.
Okay. Assaults because I hate them.
It's about butts mostly.
I like big butts and like them round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Hey, our old men understand it.
thick mechs to be sold on the battlefields. That's why you're probably seeing a lot of different assault mechs on the field. Or 50% off. Not too bad. If you're a assault fan, cool. You know, basically you got some good sales. I'm still waiting for the heavy sales, but Highlanders and King Crabs is this all the mechs? Like all the assault mechs?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
But they have some really good ones in here, though.
Yeah. Like the Night Star's in there, which is obviously the best mech in the game.
Yes, Night Star.
Oh, God. go buy a Fafnir. Let's try to be actual, like, get some real critique in this. Let's say go buy a Fafnir. Those are much better.
Go buy Nightstar and a couple of Ravens. Those are the best mechs. Even though the Ravens are on sale, you need more Ravens.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want some serious advice, the Annihilator, Cyclops, Kodiak are all really good mechs.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've heard some people enjoy the Kaiju.
Yep.
Really?
King Kong Hero.
Mm.
I've heard some people
Underwhelming
like
mech,
it.
but yeah, it's
Some
a
people
thing.
do enjoy it. Otherwise, the Supernova, if you wanna be a boring missile boat, the Mauler's pretty good.
Mad Cat Mark IIs.
Mad Cat Mark II.
Like I would say, Mad Cat Mark II, like the Dakar one over the Kodiak Dakar. There's the Death Strike for your
Death Strike, yeah.
meta stuff. Marauder 2Cs, decent mechs. Fafnirs, decent mechs. Cyclopses, yeah, lots of good mechs. Just steer away from the Night Stars, and be very careful which if you. Yeah, I'd think twice a little bit more about supernovas as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the missile one is fine, but boiler maybe. Otherwise, energy supernovas are. You might as well just get Marauder 2C more most of the time.
Sounds good.
Annihilators, oh yeah, Stalkers as well. Yes, yeah, it's most of the good ones. Highlander 2C is again a very, very, very maybe.
Yeah, big maybe. I guess we could say the Stalker is a big maybe for many people, even though I personally love it.
Yeah, I would say someone to recommend, at least they've been on the First Circuit podcast before, is TTB. He did a video about the sale. The sale will be over when this podcast comes out, but yeah, he is a big assault mech pilot, and his video's been fairly popular about this most recent sale.
That's cool. If you guys want, I have links down below for TTB as well. Thank you for watching the First Circuit Podcast, episode number 87,000. For tonight's hosts, we have Biter.
Eat Pant.
Ian.
Bob is fake.
Larsh.
I like toast.
And old Bob, myself. I like big butts, I like them round. So you guys have a good night. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the battlefield.